Hey Taurus, it's Empress Rose here. Welcome to your reading. This is a general reading. Take what works, leave what doesn't. We're going to do a tarot reading today. So first of all, I'm going to break this tarot deck in half, pick from the bottom of the deck. Overall for the reading, what are we talking about? Death. This is a favorite topic. No, it's about transformation, change, letting go of what's no longer needed, what's no longer a part of you. Lessons completely learned. Losses were incurred. But you no longer have a use for either some part of yourself, some definition of yourself, some place you've been, maybe even a relationship. There's no longer, it's officially outlived its usefulness. So we can either move on willingly and submit to the changes in life and the changes within ourselves. Or we can let life do it for us in a little bit more dramatic way. So death is one of the gentlest ways to approach change, as far as just, it's an inner realization of what you don't need. So it's usually internal change, could be other kinds of change, but it's not necessarily change you choose, it's change you choose to submit to, right? So we all have our that space between stimulus and response, where we make a choice about who we're going to be when we respond. So it's a little bit, death is a little bit of that card. Something happening, something coming up, and you choosing how you're going to respond to it, and perhaps embracing and accepting the inevitable changes that come in life. Okay, and then we're going to do oracle cards. So we're doing just all crows today. And I was thinking, like, it's an Edgar Allan Crow reading. Like, we have a murder of crows here. Wow, speaking of a murder of crows, oh dear. Well, Taurus, this is pretty much what we're talking about. Whoa. Oh dear. Okay. This is a lot. This is basically like going to be the tarot reading. We'll cruise through the tarot reading. So we have death here, and then what do we have? Underneath all of these cards, it was about a bond, a committed bond to someone, whether or not this person is chosen, blood-related. I mean, the heart here talks a little bit to me about the possibility for blood-related. It's about a bond and a relationship. So let's remember, as I proceed here, that these are general readings. They will not be for everybody. If things here don't resonate with you, they don't resonate with you, and that's fine. You can watch your sun, moon, rising, or Venus, either one. If this isn't your story, and it doesn't look like, it's got too many cards here and too many specifics to be everybody's story right now, right? And also we can talk about scales of story, small scale, big scale. For you, this might be a small scale story about a friendship, a neighbor, anywhere from there to like a committed relationship to family members. So we start off with mischief here. So I'm just going to kind of read these like a booklet. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I think we're just going to take them as kind of self-explanatory. Mischief has been afoot, maybe kind of shocking, maybe it wasn't so serious, maybe it was very serious. It might not be serious for one person involved in the mischief as it is for somebody else involved in the mischief. Someone may not like what's going on, and someone else may just be playing around. Then we have coming out together, I feel like fear and wrath. So there's a lot of anger, there's worry and concern, right? This mischief, and this might have been you, this might have been someone else. This mischief, all fun and games, somebody had a good time and somebody did not. They did not appreciate it, right? It's like those pranks, they're so fun for the person doing the prank, but they're not very fun for the person receiving the prank. So something may have gone awry with a prank, or just Someone was just teasing and having a good time, but someone else ended up in fear and anger. The fear is actually about conquering fear, but through step-by-step actions, conquering a fear. Maybe there's a little bit online, maybe everybody can see what's going on, and you're day by day hopping towards something, right? It's a scarecrow. It's meant to scare you. So perhaps someone said or did something to scare you off, but you're not afraid of that. You're going to keep going towards something that you're worried about and afraid of. It may end up being nothing, may end up just being a scarecrow. I like this fear one because it's the approach of fear. It's approaching fear, right? Step by step. It's a true story about a crow that hopped towards and eventually figured out that the scarecrow was nothing to be afraid of. And maybe wrath should have come out first. This is just angry. Like, talk about a murder of crows. Like, someone's really angry about it. We have anger and fear here, kind of a difficult, terrifying combination. One is not letting their fear control them, but wrath, there's a lot of anger and frustration. And then we follow wrath and fear up with grief. And here we have, you know, the sort of community that surrounds. I feel like we're going through some sort of like the 8 steps of grief process, because we have like fear, anger, you know, wrath, grief. And then I like that, well, and then look, here we have sort of this bond, and they're sort of having to let go of something. Oh my gosh, it's very similar to this. The death card that came out, the transformation, having to let go of something. Look, we even have like the feathers on the ground and the loss here, the loss of something. And several people are mourning it, and several other people are sort of standing by. This reminds me of like in any kind of grief or sickness process, the person, like this would be the person that's very sick. These are the person closest to them, just the circles of care, and how the you never complain in towards, like these people wouldn't be like, I had to make 1,400 devil's eggs for these funeral. And they wouldn't complain to this one. They might complain to those ones, but these ones, they just bring the, 14 million deviled eggs to the funeral. But then they can say to this one, that was a lot of work. I'm already pretty overloaded with my work, and I did that. But so the complaints and the frustrations go towards people further out from the circle of grief, and the supportive statements and actions go towards the center. So I just always find that interesting. And this one definitely an interesting reminder of how we deal with grief and how we deal with grief in community with others. And this definitely, just the way these go out like this is something. So there is grief here. There is loss. We have the death, the loss of the status quo, of who we thought we were, of what we thought we were dealing with. There's mischief, some teasing perhaps, some anger and fear, and then we move on to grief. And then, right, this bonded pair is grieving over something here. And then from grief, then we have this one, release. Look at the combination here. This, and then we have release, letting it go. So grief and release, this is basically the death card here. There's a whole grief process. It's actually pretty miraculous and amazing that we just went through the entire grief process with cards. Like, all of them came out. There's 8 cards on the table. So there's like the 8 stages of grief. Here's like the event perhaps. And then, yeah, there's 8. It's pretty amazing. And it's really amazing. Honestly, I've never seen these two come out together. I haven't played with this deck for a while, but I was really drawn to these decks. Confusedly, I was confused by how drawn I was to these decks. So I'm pretty amazed by this. This is the only deck that could have provided us with this sort of narrative at all. So look at that. And then the release here. Okay, the funeral's over, or this event is over, and we're going to move on. We're going to move forward to bigger, brighter, better things. But we do have to let this thing go and let this thing behind right here. Leave it behind, right? There they are, flying away from this old self or this old situation. And maybe they didn't want to let it go. Maybe it was forced from their hands. Maybe, right? Because we have anger and fear. This wasn't like, I'm choosing to let go of this. I would like to release this. This is not a choice. And even with a choice, though, you do go through the whole kit and caboodle of grief and release. So pretty wild, but there is like this is the past. Are you going to move forward to the future? Or are you going to, cling to this old form? Amazing. And then here we go. We have a different perspective now as we're leaving this. We now have learned a lot. We're seeing things from a different perspective now. And maybe this whole process gives us a different perspective on something. Look, this one has the poppies, right? The Flanders Fields poppies right here. Poppies move so fast. Oh, I wish I still had memorized that Sylvia Plath poem about poppies. Little hell flames. Anyway, this is a pretty emotional journey. Hopefully you move through it easily. Maybe there are several cycles of it, but there's a totally different perspective coming in here. And that's what the Death card too talks about, is like at the end of this, we're changed and we have a totally different perspective here. It's interesting. This looks like a feather to me in the camera. But then I keep turning it around and it's like a cloud. This is similar cards, this perspective, as far as just the poppies and the clouds and the cloud shapes and this movement. And then these are similar cards as far as leaving, releasing, letting it go, letting something go, letting something be, letting something rest, letting it rest, and releasing yourself from something. The people always talk about when someone dies, and how is it okay? When do we get to feel good again? Or when do we get to let go of that? And we don't want to, because, if someone passed on, then we don't want to. There's a sense of abandonment, and then we don't want to abandon them. And so, but there is a release, a moving towards something better, and leaving either the grief or the loss or the loved one behind. This is stunning, honestly. All of these coming out here. I mean, do I like this reading? No. I'd rather see this bond here with joy, celebration, all of that. But that's not where we're at right now. We're going through a process. You'll have a very different perspective. You're heading towards releasing and letting go of something. There's fear and anger. Maybe a trick was played. All right, apparently I wanted to break this deck again. So, past, present, inner landscape, what's at issue? Environment, to-do list, possible outcome. In the recent past, we have Page of Wands. There's a lot of wands here. So this could be about creative projects. This could be about sexuality. This could be about spiritual life, spiritual practice, and just something that you're passionate about. So we have Page of Wands in the recent past. Somebody here, you or somebody else, was a student, a child. They found inspiration in the most unlikely spot. It's always a Gustav Klimt look to this. Look at how they're singing, they're excited, they're yelling, I found it, I found it, I found it, I found it. This person may be very creative. They may be a child, honestly. They may be very creative. They may be very, this might have been you in the past, of just an excited, new, creative option. Are we moving on from this whole, was that a separate book and this is a separate book? Because this kind of seems no, this is the same. Oh my God, this is the same. Holy moly. Okay. Wow. Hold on, I'm going to sort some stuff here because there is, whew. That we're still talking about the same situation here. Oh, wow. Okay. So, Page of Wands, a student. And this is why I'm thinking it's you, because someone's really grown the heck up here. This is, right, this is the page and this is the king. So this could be like a parent-child, though, relationship, because we have the child here and the king here, or the parent here, the leader here. This could actually be like related to some sort of work, the student here, the mentor here. But because it's sort of past and present, it looks like you've learned a lot and you've grown the heck up creatively, imaginatively, spiritually, possibly, sexually, possibly, grown the heck up. So look how similar these cards are. The sun here, and this one reminds me of the strength card too, because we have this infinity sign here. So some sort of this King of Wands in the present situation is full of restraint, self-control, strength, very creative. King of Wands in the current situation, so this could be you. There's a sense of like magic here, of renewal, of having borne fruit out of, especially with this page sitting next to this King of Wands, this page, crowing about what they've found, crowing about what they've done, excited about this new project, excited about this maybe new creative gift they discovered, or a new spiritual path, or they're very, very, very excited about it. I just can't tell you how excited this Page of Wands seems. And of course it's a page, so there might be some immaturity, there might be some braggadocious behavior where we're like, yeah, I'm gonna have stuff in the Guggenheim for sure, you know. There might have been some bragging back there about something you're very passionate about. But now we have King of Wands. King of Wands is a lot more reserved. King of Wands, they know what they've got. They know that they're talented. They've actually accomplished things. The kings are leaders. So this could be like I want to say a creative leader, someone even who like works very professionally in the creative fields. I want to say almost like a well, if we're talking the Guggenheim here, if we're talking painting or something, this is someone that might be like a dealer or a gallery owner or something like that. It's someone who holds sort of the purse strings and the power in this field in which you, at least in the recent past, have been quite a beginner. You may now be in a powerful position, but the person that this King of Wands is describing, they are a leader. They drum up business. That's the thing about kings, is that they're a leader and they know it, and everybody else knows it too. It's not like the queens can be leaders, but kind of secretively on the side. People might follow them for advice, but that's not like the whole point of what they're doing. The King of Wands is someone in a powerful position in whatever field we're talking about. They do have a lot of patience, a lot of self-control. They've grown quite a bit. Their work has produced fruit. They've got the goods to back it up. They're not lying. So this could be a spiritual leader. This could be a creative business person or creative leader. But they've proven themselves. And this all started off with like this exciting new thing. They've proven themselves now. And now their wand sits. They don't need to like grasp or cling to anything, because they know they have it, and the wand stands by itself. You know, I almost hear like my work stands for itself or whatever. You know, it doesn't need to be propped up with a bunch of. It doesn't need to be propped up. It's proven. It stands on its own. Yeah, my work stands on its own. Kind of vibe here. So, hopes, fears, inner landscape. You are worried. So we have fear here about heartbreak. You're worried about heartbreak. And I feel like you're worried about, this can be a breakup. this bonded pair that we saw over here in this other deck. Same artist though, but this is, you know, we started off with this bond, that whole thing of the wrath and the fear and the grief, and then the release, the wrath, fear, and grief. This is what's on your mind. Wrath, fear, and grief. And this is the Three of Swords, the grief card. And this couple here splits, or these family members, these friends, they split. There's a break off, and there's a lot of, there's some fear, grief, and wrath. Let's not say a lot, because that sounds terrifying to me. But this bond is broken. And that's what you're worried about. And that's where we could end up with like a father-child thing, situation, or a parent. I guess the king, I'm genderizing that, but a parent-child relationship. And they might be, dear me, they might be both working in the same field, or they might be both like having similar gifts. And you might be very worried about that bond being broken and that. And so hopefully what we're looking at here is that all of this fear and grief and wrath is just in your mind. It's what, this is your hopes and your fears. You're definitely, no one's hoping for this unless you're a sociopath. But there's a fear of this, and this. So hopefully we're just talking like there's a fear of this. Oh, and that could be where the mischief is too. Here is that it's not necessarily real. It's just like bothersome or annoying or something like that. Because if this is coming in, you know, if this were coming in your environment or your current situation, we'd have a little bit of a different story. But because this is coming in your fears, it's now modifying what basically is this card of, this is a fear of yours. You are afraid of a broken heart. You're afraid of a broken relationship. You're afraid of separation, a breakup, something like that. What's at issue here? It's Ten of Swords in reverse. Ten of Swords is, all the hurt is done. So Ten of Swords in the upright is all the hurt is done. You're wounded. There's a recovery period. All the hurt and pain is over though, and we don't need to. There's no more way that they can hurt you, that they can. The swords are done. There aren't more swords. This is as painful as the situation can get. Ten of Swords in reverse is that there's a little bit of a gravity boost to the healing process. Because in Ten of Swords in reverse, gravity is going to pull those swords out for you. So it's the nature of the situation that it will be becoming less painful, less fearful. Swords are words and thoughts. And although this can be any type of situation, in this particular situation, we can be talking about words hurting less. And because you have these fears right here, less pain, less suffering, less pain and suffering. Basically, it's the release. This painful situation, these fears that you have, you're going to be released of this. Whatever this painful situation is, there's a release coming through. That's not to say it wasn't real. That's not, you know, with the Three of Swords in your head, it does seem to denote more of a fear of something happening. But this is you might be being released of these fears. And just give me the Eight of Swords then, or the Nine of Swords, if we're just talking about waking up from a nightmare. So there could have been like, it might actually have been really painful, but there's a release here from a painful situation. So the 10 is completion, which means it's over. The painful situation is over, and you're getting a boost of nature. Mother Nature is coming in here and gonna sort of like help remove some of the pain and suffering that you've been through. So there is a release. You're kind of in the midst of that is what we're talking about, but you're afraid. In your environment, we have Six of Pentacles. Give and take, gift exchange. So there might be a gift exchange here, or just exchange for goods and services. Balance being restored. Gifts. Yeah, there's definitely something about gifts here. reciprocation. Like this one's taking, like also sort of tithe or dues being paid, but then getting the rewards for those dues being paid. This, it looks like there's 2 fish here. One has been donated. A gift. There could be a gift coming in for you, or something about a gift here, which is interesting. And then in your to-do list is 3 of Wands. So this is looking to the future. I feel like it really correlates actually with this perspective card. Getting some perspective on something. I think that could be what's going on too here, just because this one's upside down and this is upside down, where a new perspective comes in that kind of helps with like forgiveness or pain or something like that, a change in perspective right here. But this is having hope for the future. We've got that star card. Things can work out. Visioning a vision for the future. This could be imagining the future, doing some visioning work. All about where you want to go, what you want to do, just imagining your future and imagining yourself getting there. It's the bridge to the future is your imagination, your plan. And then, so the wands, there's 4 wands in here, which is actually pretty intense. So this could be about an energetic thing also. So you're meant to have some hope here. Very much be looking towards the future. And then we go into 2 of Wands. This is the possible outcome. So 2 of Wands is going to be practical work. This is interesting. They almost look like paintbrushes and creating the world. But 2 of Wands takes us, in my opinion, out of the suit of Wands, which is all about faith and energy and real practical matters. This is like, we want to go on a trip. 2 of Wands is like, okay, let's pack the car. How are we gonna fit everything into this space? How are we going to, so it's looking into practical matters. So currently you're dreaming and you're visioning and you're imagining maybe what you're gonna do with this gift or with something that comes in. You haven't been in the best use of your imagination, so this is sort of getting a different perspective, imagining something better, imagining being hopeful for the future, envisioning the future, and then very much so taking practical steps to the future. Making plans, envisioning, thinking about what you really want, trusting. You need to trust that what you want is happening and can happen, that it can happen to you, that it can happen, trusting that it can happen. And then 2 is like actually doing whatever you can to make something happen. Trusting, but trust and faith in the future, and maybe doing some visioning exercises where you imagine your future. There's some cool meditations online about that. And then taking actual practical steps to accomplish that. And practical work and just very practical stuff. So right now you're in theory mode. It hasn't been the best use of your imagination here. So using it better, using it with hope, and then taking steps towards, practical steps towards what you hope to, how you see your future. All right. A little prayer. Oh, sensitive sloth, tranquility, tolerance, diplomacy. Oh, well, I'm seeing like a big need for diplomacy here. Peaceful spirit of the trees, teach me stillness in the winds of change. A little sloth. Stillness in the winds of change. Okay, I hope that was helpful. That was unexpectedly long, but with that whole booklet, how could we help it? So if you'd like to join me over on Vimeo, oh, I forgot to say what we were going to do on Vimeo. We're doing a relationship reading on Vimeo. Hopefully it's not this. It's intended to be like a romantic relationship reading over on Vimeo. Different decks. And I just charge a small token fee for the energy exchange. to honor that. So if that interests you, come join me over on Vimeo. If not, we'll just chat later and it'll be fine.